The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Klamath County. Job number 31127 on your new apparatus. Please utilize this job number when referencing your vehicle with Hughes Fire Equipment or Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started with your apparatus. On the front bumper, you have two air horn locations mounted in the center. There is also a mechanical siren on the driver's side. In addition, with tubbed storage for hose in the center of the bumper, an 1.5-inch discharge port, both right and left emergency lights, attachment points, located also in the cluster of headlights on the exterior of this is the regular high beams on the center, and in the outside are the low beams. In the cluster above that are the emergency lights and turn arrow indicators, in addition with 3 windshield wipers across the front windshield. There is a marker on the left-hand side and right-hand side of the front of the apparatus, and an electronic siren on the right-hand side of the bumper. As you can see, there's also located the upper section in the front of the cab are the marker lights. This is a close-up of the tubbed area storage for your hose for the 1.5-inch front discharge. There are step or work lights located in the step wells, in addition with a front air chuck. Moving up from that location, looking into the cab from the driver's side, there are warning and caution labels. Please be aware of these caution labels and seek manufacturer's advice on this information. The labels are in areas where they're easily accessible. Please read and acknowledge those. On the lower section on the driver's side, there is a mechanical siren and an air horn foot pedal. Moving up from those locations, there are rocker switches which control the diagnostic port, which is in the green cap. What's indicated right now is the quarter turn battery switch. This is the engine diagnostic switch. This is the port where they would plug into to seek information. This is the ignition switch, which is highlighted in green there. This is the start switch just above that. On the inside of the left-hand side is the emergency master switch. Moving over is the headlights for on, off, and running lights. In addition with that, next to it is the rocker switch for panel illumination. This is the push-pull tilt for your steering wheel. These are the hazard lights on the column. This is the right and left turn indicator and a pull for brightening lights. On the dash, you have a transmission temperature gauge, a DEF level, oil pressure level, water temperature, tachometer, speedometer, voltage gauge, front air, fuel gauge, rear air. Located in the center and above the dash is also information center with warning and hazard lights available for information on your apparatus. Looking over the driver's operator's location, there is an emergency master. There is a front flood. There is a driver side flood, passenger side flood, rear flood, and illuminated in the green light is a perimeter light. Just above the driver operator is the the electronic siren.
To the right of that, there are additional light switches. There is a push for white and push for red overhead light switch. Looking at that same cluster, this is the siren/horn switch. The red switch is the siren brake. Moving off to the other side, you have room for additional add-on switches and the opticom switch. Just below that on the visor area is the compartment ajar or door ajar light and siren. This is a pull cord for your air horn. Looking at the left-hand side, this is the stationary OK to pump when rolling. This is your water pump. This is your foam system. You have future locations for approximately 3 additional switches if needed. Located on the left-hand side in the next column down is the engine on-off brake. This is the engine high, medium, or low positions. In the next position over, you have your heated mirror. This is the load manager switch. This is a safety switch, which is the differential lock on-off. And this is an indicator light indicating the differential lock has been activated. Just to the right of that is your windshield wipers, push for the fluid. And to the right of that, you have your climate control. Moving downward, this is your pull for parking brake. That's for accessing the air brakes. You have an Allison transmission pad. Located on the driver's side by the driver's side right leg is the Pierce Manufacturing placard information. This is the date of manufacture, the job number, additional information as to your apparatus, the VIN number, and the different types of fluid and requirement capacities for your apparatus. Moving to the rear of your apparatus, inside the cab in the center console is an adjustable shelf which is illuminated by LED lights. Moving to the rear also, just forward facing of that is an access point for checking fluid levels for oil and transmission. Back up to the very front passenger seat, you have a siren brake. You have 2 access points for 12-volt power direct to the battery. On the very top of your apparatus, you also have an emergency light bar. Located on the driver's side is a opticom. In the middle, mounted in the center at the top, is the floodlight. And around the perimeter is the running lights, and there are 5 of those located in this location. To the driver's side, this is going to be a pegboard that pulls out for tool access. This compartment is for the DEF fill location. This is where you put your diesel in for diesel fuel. You also have a mid-cab emergency light. Moving forward of that, just below the pump panel is a pull-out shelf or step, and there are 2 fixed shelves in your long compartment. Looking at your pump panel in the lower section, you have a illuminating light. There are 2 2.5-inch discharge ports, large diameter intake, 2.5-inch intake. The levers across the bottom that you see are all discharge drain valves. Same with the twist, those are also drain valves. Looking in the top in the left-hand corner, this is the panel heater. This is the water level indicator. Moving across that in this panel section area, this is the engine information for oil, water pressure. This is your RPM gauge. There are 3 illuminating lights, one in red, which is the stop engine. To the opposite side is a amber check engine. And down at the very bottom, another amber light that's a check transmission. Moving to the right of that, there is the master intake. To the right of that is the master discharge. There is an indicator light for the PMC, which is faulty. And beneath that, there is an audible alarm siren. Below that are the 2 test ports for testing your vacuum and pressure. Moving to the left-hand side are color-coded discharge ports, gauges, and levers. Purple, yellow, and white, indicating the type of discharge they are. In addition, you notice that they also are foam and water compliant. Moving across that is your foam level indicator. This is your Husky central point. This is your Pierce Manufacturing placard, indicate your pressures for 150, 200, and 250. Please check this placard to make sure you understand how that works and the information that's described on it. Moving to the left-hand side, just below those is the tank fill and recirculating line. Next to that is the tank pump and a large diameter deluge discharge. Once again, those are color-coded. Moving to the left-hand side is your strainer. Also indicating this same location, this is your pressure relief valve and the on-off switch for it. Moving to the right of that with the red dot on it is the throttle control. And the red section is an emergency push-in, which will stop the engine or auto down the engine. Where the blue tape's located, this is going to be your primary fire pump primer. Moving to the right-hand side is the passenger rear discharge. These are your two large diameter gauge valve indicators. This is a main pump drain, and down at the very bottom, the levers across the bottom, those are once again all discharge color-coded drains. There's an access door just beneath that. To the left-hand side of the pump panel is the driver's side floodlight and passenger side floodlight with some future switch points also. This is a pull-out, pull-down shelf, an adjustable shelf below that, and the very bottom of that in the rear of the apparatus there is a pull-out shelf. Also, you have wheel chocks, both front and rear, and in the center of that is an additional attachment point. Looking at the rear of your apparatus, on both sides equally, you have a brake light, you have a turn indicator light, and a reverse light. Also, there are work lights or step lights, also referred to. In addition, with 4 emergency lights on the rear, there are 2 reverse or scene lights to the rear. There are grab rails accordingly to access the upper sections of the apparatus. There is an 1.5" discharge port. On the other side, there is a 2.5" discharge port. Also note that there are a variety of just running lights both on the top and down below. This is the switch which controls the lights in the section of the hose bed. On the right-hand side, there is an additional long compartment storage, and above that, there's an additional long compartment storage. When we look inside the rear compartment, there is an adjustable shelf in the midsection, and at the very bottom, an additional pull-out with LED lights throughout. Once again, this is long storage area, the very top of the apparatus. Looking at the top of the apparatus, you have 2 telescoping lights. Also difficult to see are on the white section, there are no step or no walking signs on that area. There are 2 work lights rear facing, and you have covered storage. There is a 24 and a 14-foot roofer on the right-hand side of the apparatus. Just above that, you have pole storage and a 10-foot attic ladder. Suction storage. Looking at the passenger side, there are 2 adjustable shelves in the very rear compartment. Once again, an additional attachment point. Moving to the center compartment, an adjustable shelf. Moving just below that, you have a significant amount of bottle storage and an emergency light. Moving forward of that, you have 3 adjustable shelves with once again LED lighting to support that. In the midship area, this is your cab lift light section here. This is the switch to activate to raise and lower the cab. You have a large diameter intake. You have a 2.5" intake, a 2.5" discharge port, Just below that, you have a large diameter discharge. Beneath that, you have the 4 discharge drains, which are levers. Moving to the midship, you have a cross-through compartment with storage gates. Long compartment storage once again above that. And congratulations, Klamath County, job number 31127. If you have any questions, please contact your Hughes sales representative. Thank you.